Welcome to the world of science fiction where extraordinary tales come to life. Enjoy the journey. The air in the Vorath Grand Hall smelled like ozone and arrogance. Calyx, her 6'7" frame clad in iridescent armor, glared at the tiny human delegation. "You Earthlings are here as a courtesy," she sneered, her voice echoing. "The Vorath Alliance doesn't need weaklings who die if their atmosphere leaks." Lena, a wiry human engineer with grease smeared on her cheeks, stepped forward. "Weakness isn't about muscle," she said, tapping her temple. "It's about thinking." The Vorath warriors laughed, their twin hearts pulsing in sync. Calyx flexed her clawed hands. "Prove it. Fight me." Lena grinned. "Gladly." She didn't reach for a weapon. She pulled out a wrench. The Vorath gasped. Their energy shields could stop plasma, but Lena's tool was analog. Calyx lunged, her plasma whip crackling. Lena ducked, twisting the wrench into the whip's power core. A shower of sparks erupted, and Calyx's weapon died. Silence. Then the Vorath whispers began. "How?" Lena wiped her hands. "Your tech's fancy, but it's got a reset button." She tossed the wrench. "Humans invent problems just to solve them. That's our strength." Calyx's pride burned hotter than any star. This wasn't over. The Vorath council chamber hummed with tension. Calyx's pride still burned from her defeat, her claws flexing against the polished obsidian table. The High Overseer, a towering Vorath elder with bioluminescent scars, studied Lena with cold, pupil-less eyes. "A human defeated a Vorath warrior with a tool," he mused. "This is unprecedented." Lena stood firm, her fingers still smudged with grease from the fight. "Respectfully, Overseer, humans have been using tools to solve problems for thousands of years. We don't just rely on brute strength, we adapt." Calyx snarled. "Adaptation is irrelevant if you cannot survive the trial of the Hollow Maw." A murmur rippled through the assembled Vorath. The Hollow Maw was their most lethal test, a shifting labyrinth filled with traps, illusions, and creatures engineered to break the strongest warriors. Few who entered ever returned. The Overseer leaned forward. "If you truly believe human ingenuity is superior, then prove it. Survive the Maw, and the Vorath will acknowledge your species as equals." Lena didn't hesitate. "I accept." The descent into the Maw. The entrance to the Hollow Maw was a gaping chasm in the floor of the Vorath citadel, its edges lined with ancient runes. As Lena stepped toward it, Calyx grabbed her arm, her claws pressing just enough to draw a thin line of blood. "You will die in there, human," she hissed. Lena met her gaze. "Then I guess you'll never get the chance to beat me." Calyx's grip tightened, then released. The moment Lena stepped inside, the ground sealed shut behind her, plunging her into darkness. The walls pulsed faintly, as if alive. Then, a whisper echoed through the tunnels. "Welcome, fleshling." The first trap, the Mirror of Doubt. A corridor stretched before her, lined with mirrors. But instead of reflections, the glass showed versions of Lena. Broken, bleeding, screaming. "This is how you die," the whispers taunted. Lena clenched her fists. "Nice try." She grabbed a loose piece of metal from the floor and smashed the first mirror. The glass shattered, and the illusions flickered. "You resist," the voice hissed. Lena smirked. "Human brains are wired to ignore hallucinations when we know they're fake." She kept walking, shattering every mirror in her path. Behind her, unseen, Calyx watched from a hidden observation deck, her golden eyes narrowed. How is she doing this? The second trap, the gravity well. The floor suddenly vanished beneath Lena's feet, and she plummeted into a pit where gravity shifted unpredictably. Up became down, left became right. Most Vorath warriors panicked, disoriented until they were crushed by their own weight. But Lena had trained in zero-G simulations back on Earth. She closed her eyes, letting her inner ear recalibrate. "Just like the lunar drills," she muttered. When she opened her eyes again, she swam through the air, pushing off walls until she found the exit. Calyx's breath caught. No one has ever. The final test. The sentient core. The maze led her to a vast chamber where a massive, pulsing orb of energy hovered. The Maw's AI core. You are not Vorith. It boomed. Why do you persist? Lena wiped sweat from her brow. Because humans don't believe in impossible. The core pulsed, intrigued. Then answer this. What is the greatest weakness of your species? Lena didn't hesitate. Empathy. Silence. Then the core laughed. A flaw the Vorith lack. Very well. You may pass. The walls shifted, revealing an exit. Calyx, watching from above, felt something unfamiliar stir in her chest. Was this admiration? The exit door slid open with a hiss, revealing not the Vorith council chamber as Lena expected, but a hidden observation deck. Calyx stood there alone, her armored fingers gripping the railing so tightly the metal groaned in protest. You weren't supposed to survive. Her voice was low, almost dangerous. Lena wiped grime from her face, her muscles still trembling from the trial. Disappointed. Calyx's golden eyes flickered, something between frustration and reluctant curiosity. The Maw has existed for centuries. No outsider has ever passed its tests. Lena shrugged. Guess there's a first time for everything. A long silence stretched between them. Then, Calyx did something unexpected. She reached out and grasped Lena's wrist, her claws retracting just enough not to break skin. Why do you do that? Lena blinked. Do what? Shiver. Calyx tilted her head. When I touch you, your skin reacts. Is it pain? Lena laughed, a startled sound. No, it's... She paused, realizing the cultural gap. Humans do that when we're surprised, or nervous, or when something feels good. Calyx recoiled as if burned. That makes no sense. Tactile responses should only signal danger. Lena grinned. Welcome to human biology. The council's verdict. The Vorith elders sat in stunned silence as Lena emerged from the trial alive. The overseer's voice boomed across the chamber. The human has passed. By ancient law, we must acknowledge her species as equals. Murmurs of dissent rippled through the crowd. They're fragile. One warrior spat. Their bones snapped like twigs. Lena crossed her arms. And yet, I'm standing here, and half of you thought I'd be dead by now. Calyx, standing at the edge of the platform, clenched her fists. Enough. All eyes turned to her. The human has proven one thing clearly. Vorith doctrine is flawed. We assumed strength was purely physical, but she survived the Maw not by force, but by understanding it. The chamber erupted into arguments. Lena caught Calyx's gaze and mouthed, "Thanks." Calyx looked away, but not before Lena saw the faintest blue flush rise to her cheeks. The revelation. Later, in the archives, Lena pored over Vorith historical records. One holographic entry caught her eye. Subject: Species 4482H. Designation: Human. Observed traits: extreme adaptability. Neuroplasticity exceeds all known species. Warning: exposure to humans may cause ideological contamination. Lena snorted. Ideological contamination. A shadow fell over the screen. Calyx stood behind her, arms crossed. You're digging where you shouldn't. Just curious why your people were studying us before first contact. Calyx hesitated, then sat beside her. Because we feared you. Lena raised an eyebrow. A race of 7-foot-tall warrior aliens. Afraid of us. Not your bodies. Calyx muttered. Your minds. Your ability to change things. To change us. For the first time, Lena saw it. The real reason behind the trials. The mockery. The hostility. The Vorith weren't testing human weakness. They were testing their own resistance to human influence. And Calyx? She was failing. Calyx's claws tapped impatiently against the medical console as Lena lay on the examination table, sensors scanning her body. The Vorath bioscanner kept erroring out, unable to comprehend human physiology. "Explain this again," Calyx demanded, pointing at the hologram of Lena's nervous system flaring with false damage alerts. "Why does your body react to non-threatening stimuli?" Lena sighed. "It's called goosebumps. When humans feel cold or emotional, our muscles contract. Makes the hairs stand up." Calyx leaned closer, her breath warm against Lena's neck. "And this?" She dragged a single claw lightly down Lena's arm, leaving a trail of raised skin. Lena's breath hitched. "That's also abnormal. Your pulse just spiked 18%. Is that a stress response?" "Not exactly." Calyx's eyes narrowed. "Deceit. Your pupils dilated too." Lena groaned, covering her face. "You're worse than my high school biology teacher." The Council's fury. Across the Citadel, the Vorath High Council was in chaos. "She's a contagion." Elder Forrest slammed his fist, cracking the stone table. "First, she corrupts our trials. Now our warriors ask questions about emotions." Overseer Reich stroked his chin. "Yet the archives confirm, human adaptability is evolutionary warfare. They don't conquer with weapons, but with ideas." A younger counselor, Tilix, hesitated. "What if that's not a threat? The human survived the maw because it respected her. Should we not respect a mammal that dies if you remove its atmosphere?" Voris laughed bitterly. "Calyx is already compromised. Tomorrow, we execute the human, and any Vorath who defends her." The choice. Calyx found Lena in the observatory, staring at the triple moons. "They'll kill you at dawn," she said bluntly. Lena didn't turn. "Figured. You're not afraid." "Terrified." Lena finally looked at her. "But I knew the risks when I came here." Calyx's tail lashed. "Why? Why challenge us? You had to know you'd lose." Lena smiled. "Funny thing about humans, we keep fighting even when we know we'll lose. Because someone, someday, has to be the first to win." Something in Calyx's chest ached. Without thinking, she grabbed Lena's hand. And this time, she felt the shiver travel up the human's arm. "Come," she growled. "We're leaving." The escape. Alarms blared as Calyx smashed the security panel, sealing the corridor behind them. Lena gaped at the stolen plasma rifle in Calyx's hands. "You're rebelling?" "For me." Calyx fired at approaching guards, her voice raw. "For the truth. Now run, human." As they fled through the service tunnels, Lena realized Calyx wasn't just saving her. She was choosing to change. The escape pod crashed through the atmosphere of Vorath 7, its heat shields screaming as fire licked the reinforced hull. Lena gripped the armrests, her stomach lurching as the world outside the viewport became a blur of orange and black. Across from her, Calyx worked the controls with grim determination, her claws dancing over the console in a desperate attempt to stabilize their descent. "Brace," she shouted, her voice barely audible over the roaring wind. The pod hit the ground with a bone-jarring impact, skidding through alien soil before finally coming to rest at the edge of a sprawling neon-lit city. Smoke curled from the damaged engines, and the acrid scent of burning metal filled the cramped space. Lena coughed, wiping soot from her face. Well, that could have gone worse. Calyx shot her a glare, but there was no real heat behind it. "We're alive. That's enough for now." The hatch hissed open, revealing a landscape unlike anything Lena had ever seen. The sky was a deep violet, streaked with ribbons of bioluminescent clouds. Towering spires of black crystal rose in the distance, pulsing with an eerie inner light. And between them, figures moved. Vorath, but unlike any Lena had encountered before. Their armor was less uniform, their movements less rigid. Some even wore garments that seemed decorative rather than functional. Calyx stiffened beside her. "This is a dissident colony. The council exiled them for ideological divergence. Lena raised an eyebrow. You mean they think differently? They question. They change. Calyx's voice was low, as if admitting something dangerous. Before Lena could respond, a group of Vorith approached, their weapons drawn but not immediately hostile. The leader, a female with deep indigo skin and silver markings across her face, studied them with sharp golden eyes. Calyx of the High Claw, she said, recognition flashing across her features. You are a long way from the Citadel. Calyx stepped forward, her posture tense but not aggressive. We seek sanctuary, Vera. Vera's gaze flicked to Lena, and something like amusement crossed her face. And you bring a human. How? Interesting. The city of the Divergent. The colony was alive in a way the Citadel had never been. Vorith moved through the streets with a fluidity Lena hadn't thought possible for their species. Some lingered in open markets, bartering goods. Others gathered in communal spaces, engaged in what looked like debates. Vera led them to a central plaza, where a holographic projection of the galaxy rotated slowly above a dais. We've been watching your escape, she admitted. The council has declared you both traitors. Lena swallowed. So much for a warm welcome. They fear what you represent, Vera said simply. The Vorith have always believed strength lies in uniformity. But here, we've learned otherwise. Calyx's tail flicked in agitation. The council will send hunters. They won't let this stand. No, Vera agreed, which is why we must act first. She gestured, and the hologram shifted, displaying a live feed from the Citadel. The council was gathered in emergency session, their faces twisted with fury. But what caught Lena's attention was the massive biomechanical construct being unveiled behind them, a hybrid of Vorith and human technology. What the hell is that? Vera's expression darkened. Their answer to you, a weapon designed to mimic human adaptability, without the weakness of human emotion. Calyx snarled. They would pervert evolution itself to maintain control. Lena's mind raced. We need to stop them. But we can't fight that thing head-on. No, Vera agreed. But we don't have to. The broadcast. The plan was simple, reckless, and utterly human. Using the colony's transmitters, they hijacked the Citadel's communication grid. Every screen, every hologram, every ship's display across the Vorith systems flickered, and then showed Calyx's face. She stood before the camera, her usual arrogance replaced by something raw and unfamiliar. My people, she began, her voice steady. The council tells you humanity is weak, that their flesh is fragile, their emotions a flaw. But I have fought a human. I have learned from one. And I tell you now, they are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The feed cut to footage of Lena in the hollow maw, how thinking traps designed to break warriors 10 times her size. Then to their escape, Calyx fighting alongside her, their movements sensed as if they'd trained together for years. Humans do not conquer with force, Calyx continued. They change us. They make us question. They make us feel. And that terrifies the council more than any army. The final image was of Calyx's own claw resting against Lena's wrist, the moment she'd first felt a human shiver. They call this weakness. I call it power. Silence. Then, across the galaxy, Vorith ships changed course. Colonies declared independence. Warriors lowered their weapons. The Council's biomech weapon faltered, its programming conflicting with the truth now echoing through its systems. Impossible, the Overseer whispered. Lena grinned. Welcome to the human effect. Epilogue. The Catalyst. One standard cycle later, Lena stood on the bridge of a repurposed Vorith cruiser, watching as the first joint human-Vorith outpost took shape on the horizon. Calyx joined her, her posture looser than Lena had ever seen it. They're calling you the Catalyst, she remarked. The one who reshaped an empire. Lena snorted. Pretty sure that was you. Calyx hesitated, then did something she'd never done before. She reached out and laced her claws gently through Lena's fingers. "No," she said quietly. "It was us." And somewhere, in the vast dark between stars, something new began.